Hello, everyone. Welcome back to AVX Live. I'm Joe Gilderson, President of Corporate Audio Visual Services. Welcome to episode 42. I'm joined today by my co-host, Mr. Ryan Finch.
Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Welcome back, and it's good to be here.
You know, Ryan, I noticed that we had a new video playing there.
I'm so glad you pointed it out because I've been so excited about this. We've been sitting on it. We're a year into this, week number 42. I know those two things don't line up. We had some busy seasons. It's okay. But we have a new, beginning. I know that song was getting a little repetitive, so you got to keep things fresh, right? And I'm sure keeping things fresh and interesting is some of the conversation we're going to have today.
I do think that we're going to get into some of that, but I really liked it. There was a lot of cowbell, and that made me very happy. As a drummer, that makes me very happy as a drummer. So
absolutely.
Either way, listen, Ryan, tell people how they can find us.
Oh, I'm glad you said so. You can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, all live, all the time, or should I say on Wednesdays in particular, and at 1 p.m. And of course, if you are on one of those channels and you're watching our show, please drop us a comment, ask a question. Otherwise, just be part of the show, and we'll try to answer that live on the air. And of course, as always, while you're there, show us some love, like, comment, share, subscribe, all the above. Super appreciated. And, it makes us feel like we're doing this thing for a reason. So thank you very much. Keep up the good work. And what do you think, Joe? Good?
Good
start?
That's pretty good. I think that's a good start. I mean, after the cowbell, I don't know if there's much more I need to do.
All uphill from here.
But I think instead we probably bring on our guest. I mean, she's much more interesting than you and I. So
deal.
Let's do that. Today we're going to be speaking with Elena Rivera-Cheek. Elena carries herself with a type of energy that can fill a room. A bold, creative powerhouse, Elena has built copy and art from the ground up. In 10 years, the company has grown from a single employee shop to becoming a groundbreaking female and minority-owned business, as well as one of America's fastest-growing private companies, according to Inc. 5000. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Elena Rivera-Cheek.
Hey, guys. Hello. How are you? Wonderful.
Doing well, thanks. Good to
We're
see
doing
you.
Well.
So
that was
I
like
really
magic
like
the way you popped up.
Wait, hold on. We're talking about the intro. What did we think, Elena? Because we didn't even show you that beforehand.
Just from a creative standpoint, I thought there was a lot of cowbell. I was engaged the whole time. I wanted to know more. I think it was 100% effective. That's just my professional opinion.
Okay. Well, there you go, Joe. File that one under successful.
Well, we're gonna take that box. There he goes. And I don't know who said this, but somebody said that we might need more cowbell.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that in the chat before the show.
Well, we always
Ryan
likes
creative feedback, so I think Ryan is gonna take it all in.
I do. I'll be looking for more too. Thank you, Elena.
You're welcome.
Well, he's a creative person, But
I know, I can tell.
I've kind of zoned in on something else. So I noticed that behind you have a pretty nice bar going back there.
Oh, we pay homage to traditional old school ad agencies. We leave the stodgy old guys out, but we take the other things they showed us about ad agencies and kind of, what an office could include.
Okay. Well, I think Joe and I both, we can certainly get behind that. Joe actually has a little something similar. I know we're not an ad agency, but he's got a nice fancy globe that to all the outsiders looks like just a globe, but inside.
Right.
That's where the magic happens.
That's right.
Yes. You have to come into the office to find out. We get it. It's a way to kind of engage your potential audience there.
Absolutely. And as a marketing person, you are an expert in engagement. So
and it works with the audience as well. Thanks, Jim. Yeah. We like the bar too.
Yeah.
So somehow, you've been everywhere lately, including last night's networking event with the BCW. And I'm not sure how I missed you, but I know you were there because I saw photos afterwards on every social media platform that exists. So,
you know what? For 7 years, about 7 years, during the first 7 years of copy and art, I did no networking. Honestly, I had my head down and was trying to build an ad agency in Westchester across all odds, right? And so I didn't really pay attention to that. We really kind of focused on like customer experience, attracting a good team. But marketing in Westchester was not a high priority, quite frankly, until about a few years ago, when I hired a vice president of PR and marketing for us internally, and got a lot of really great ideas about how to get our name out there. And the good news was we weren't a startup at that point. Actually, what we hear even still today, now that my face is on like 914 Inc. and all this other stuff you're mentioning, is really like, we didn't know you were here, which is, of course, heartbreaking. Because in the meantime, clients are making decisions, not knowing that we're even in the mix in Westchester and available to them. So we really made a concerted effort about 3 years ago to do as best as we could to let Westchester and the world know that we're here and what we do and how we excel and what we deliver in terms of a client experience.
Well, that's beautiful. And to your point, I mean, especially in the Westchester circuit, you said you hadn't done a lot of networking previously. It feels like Westchester is really what's the word, focused on networking in some form or another. But it actually raised a question for me as you were just describing that. How do you balance as an agency, as an ad agency or creative? How do you balance doing the work for your clients versus doing the work for your own agency?
Sure. So that's a great question, because that is obviously a challenge for anybody who runs an enterprise or an organization of any kind. I think now I have a great agency behind me, so we have people who help me determine the most strategic and best use of my time. Oh, where am I needed most? What is the best way for me to add value to the agency and then our clients? So I don't have to make every decision there. I come in, it's across the desk, so I won't stretch for it. But there's a piece of paper that tells me exactly where I have to be at what time, and they know my strategic objectives as far as like what I'm trying to do for our clients, what I'm trying to do for our employees, and what I'm trying to do for this agency insofar as marketing. So they kind of help me determine the best kind of ratio of time, if you will. I'd love to say it's like I'm so smart and I know exactly what to do, but it's not. I really have a great team behind me that makes me look really good. So all these awards and all these like covers, they're actually theirs. I'm just the one who gets to like accept the award. But whenever possible, I try to say like, hey, it's a team, and I'm just
Right.
a part of the team.
Well, it's funny because Joe always says, "I'm so smart, and this is all me." So it's crazy how that works out. No, I'm only kidding.
Every leader has their own approach, right? We just have to take it for what it is.
I'm with you. Well, no, and honestly, leadership is actually something we talk about on the show quite a lot. And so I think that's a good point. And interestingly enough, giving up in some sense control of your calendar, that's got to be scary.
Yeah,
is it? I mean, is it like nerve wracking to give up control? You have to have a lot of trust in the person or the organization that that are managing that for you, right?
So you know what? One of my first bosses at the big agencies in New York City, where I actually started my career, she gave me great advice. She said, "Just make sure you're always hiring people smarter than you." And a lot of leaders that I've encountered over the years feel threatened by people who are smarter than them, and they try to keep their org where they're at the top and they're the quote unquote smartest. And I take the opposite philosophy where I hire smarter than me. So if they know I'm very good at clearly articulating what my objectives are and what I will accomplish by any definitive time point. So how I get there is less important to me. It's really about this is what I'm going to do. And then a team rallies around me and goes, okay, well, in that case, then we need you here this date. My marketing director told me I had 3 events this week. And it was just like, she's like, buckle up. It's going to be a big week. And That's what I signed up for. So I really can't. I don't. This is just what it is. I work my job as a mother of 3 children and a wife, and I work my job as the owner of a great company in Westchester, and then I have to work the job of letting people know we're here, and that is omni-channel, right? You'll see us on YouTube, you'll see
Hmm.
us on social, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. But it also is press the flesh, and it's getting out there and talking to people, because so much of what we do is chemistry based. So you have to make sure it's a good fit, like not only from a output and creative perspective, but it's like, do you like our personality? We have a very
Hmm.
unique vibe of copy and art. Like, it might not be for everybody, but there are a lot of people who are attracted to that, but they need to kind of, they have to meet us, and we find that that's the best way.
Well, I think that you are definitely out there right now because I see you all over the place. And I think that's a great thing. And, it's
Yes.
not too often that I actually get to be with two
Oh no.
magazine cover people. So who's really the smartest in this three right here?
Wow,
I mean,
I
look at
have to
these
look
guys.
down at my screen. Wow,
No, you
Ryan.
don't have to, but I mean, you guys are exceptional. And I feel very
Wow.
fortunate to be here with you.
Here, wait, hold on. Let's see if we can. Oh,
So
you
can
weren't
I?
looking down your screen. I was going to cheers you there. Clink.
Oh, hold on. Can we do that? I don't know where my camera. No, I'm going the
You're
wrong way.
going the right place.
Yeah.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah, there we go.
Wow.
All
All
right.
right.
Clink. There you go.
Yo,
Sound effects.
See,
I'd like a copy of that. I didn't get that issue. I'd like a copy, please.
I have
but
547 because all of my relatives bought them all.
so there's a reason why you don't have that copy.
Okay. We can talk about that after the show, I'm sure.
It's okay. It's okay. He might be able to spare one. I mean, right now they're lining his wall, but that's okay. Either way, I guess what I'm hearing is that you started your organization, your company for a reason, and I'm really curious what drove the decision to get started. It sounds like you were in a big company, and you got all the experiences there, and then you said, you know what, I got to go out on my own. So I'm curious to know how that got started. To be honest.
So it's interesting, right? Because when I was interviewed for 914 Inc., I was asked kind of the same question, and I said I'm at this really interesting crossroad here, and the crossroad is people actually care. A, that copy and art exists, why I started the company, who we are, and so I have an opportunity to either create this really cool story about how smart and strategic I am, or to be honest. And I am smart and strategic, but that wasn't the actual original purpose for copy and art. Really, I went on my own because back in the day before Me Too, as an executive, as a vice president level at a big agency, I wasn't quite, this whole family, starting a family wasn't exactly a welcomed change or milestone in my life. And in fact, to the opposite, I found a lot of mistreatment and a lot of not a lot of time and space to become a mom too. I was always going to be a hard worker, Joe. I am who I am. I mean, I've built an
Right.
agency through raising 3 children as well, so I was always a hard worker. But the fact that I had was starting a family, my job put me at odds with my life, and so the real story behind it is that I decided to go on my own from the basement of my small home then in White Plains uh, to just see how it would go. And and interestingly, Johnson and Johnson or Janssen Pharmaceuticals was the first client that called me and said, "We're happy, that you're on your own, and we want to give you this thing." And so that
Right.
started copy and art, but it wasn't strategic. It's strategic that we're in Westchester because we feel wholeheartedly that Westchester needs kind of that almost that New York City ad agency talent without having to go into the city. That's why we placed ourselves here. But we also love Westchester. And so that's another reason. So that's the real story. It's not as maybe sexy as some would like, but it's the reality. And I think that was my why. And that's why we can claim the success we can claim 11 years later.
Well, that's wonderful. And look, sometimes you set out in one direction and things develop, and when you work hard and you do good work, I think you get where you need to you're supposed to be, right? And interestingly enough, I think we share some similarities in terms of some of the organizations that we serve. Can you talk at all about your work with clients in the healthcare space? Because honestly, that's something we do a lot of. So I'm curious to see what your experience, are they different by themselves? What's your approach like? How is that different versus, say, other groups that you tend to work with?
Sure. So I would say if you looked at our client roster across the two main divisions of copy and art, they're, I would say, probably about 85% healthcare, pharma, biotech
Mm.
based. So healthcare is like a huge part of what we do, probably because leadership on the creative side here got started at the biggest and most well known healthcare ad agencies in New York City. So that's where we kind of got our experience. So we get those calls a
Okay.
lot.
Well,
Um,
that makes sense.
but we work with, yeah, that's, we wanted originally, I wanted to go outside of healthcare. But what you'll find is it takes a certain kind of strategic brain to do a lot of the work that we do. It is oftentimes complex and deals with not just like advertising to consumers or even physicians, but it's, sometimes on the payer value proposition side, which is a little bit of a different skill set, we'll say. So we get called a lot for that. It's like complex communications. How do you make something complex and boring into something exciting and visual and easily understood, let's say? So we do a lot of that. And we can translate our pharma and biotech experience into hospitals because hospitals have traditionally been really slow to accept marketing innovation and where marketing is going. They lag the times. And so what we are able to bring to hospital clients is like what the world in marketing is doing now and what will happen in the future. And they appreciate that because they tend to wait until things change and then they watch and they observe and then they
Right.
move. And that is too slow these days.
Well, that's actually interesting because we were just discussing earlier how, especially the hospitals, they're leaders in the community at this point. And it's
Yeah.
obviously in the last 2 years, they
Right.
are the leaders. There's no question. But they have been for years. It's just they've kind of been. It hasn't been everybody's first to mind, but
Right.
definitively at this point, that's a critical market, and especially locally too. So that's why I know we're involved with a lot of healthcare and hospitals, and we're involved in the community a lot because they're all connected.
Sure.
but but I do have a question for you. I notice on your website it
Mhm.
references next generation ad agency.
Yes.
What is the meaning of a next generation ad agency?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. Um, Really, I think, a lot of our next gen messaging is tailored to the Westchester market. Um, we've had a lot of the same players in Westchester marketing for a long time. And our position is that, well, first of all, our position is that we're all friends and there's enough business to go around for everybody. So sometimes when we walk through networking events, there'll be, you know, a little bit of, let's say, eyes on who's talking to us. And because Westchester is very entrenched and very relationship based, rightfully so. But as it relates to innovation and knowing what's about to happen, which is more important in some ways than what is happening today, uh, we are really experts. And so what you'll find is we're that, a lot of our team that deals with digital marketing, they grew up with iPhones in their hands. And so even though I didn't, even though I may look like I did, no, it's a
You
bad
look
joke.
like you look like you did. Yes.
I appreciate you both for like giving me what I needed there. Um, no, but our
We're
team
we're
is really
people pleasers, Elena. I mean,
good. Yeah, I am too. It's called the heart of service. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Um, our team really kind of has their finger on the pulse. They almost intuitively understand some of this technology the way that other generations cannot. And so we are that next generation ad agency insofar as like for clients in Westchester that want to be where their consumers are, where their eyes are now, and then where they're going to be in a year or two, we're that. But we're not, we can't say that you were working with us 20 years ago in Westchester. So we're trying to accurately position like who we are in this market, which is not the agency you partnered with 20 years ago, but maybe
Right.
that's okay. Right? There's a time and a place for everything. And so we really are representative of the future and what's happening in marketing to come.
Right. Well, you know what, and I think there's a lot of meat there, and what you're doing right now is you're telling your story, and I'd imagine that storytelling is a big part of what you do, and it came across well, so it certainly seems like you do that professionally. Anyway, it's yeah, you might. I guess I wonder. You touched on you're trying to compete the right way. Right, that it's relationship driven. You're collaborative. You're competitive, but you're collaborative with with other groups. Do you find that the groups that you compete against are they entrenched in older thought patterns, and that's where your approach is different, or is it an age centric approach where, hey, we're better at targeting this demographic because we know how to reach them better than our older competitors, if you want to call it that? Is that the positioning, or or is it something different?
Are you trying to get me in trouble with the competitors in Westchester?
No, I'm not. No, because so now,
Elena, I would never ask. I would never ask that.
No, and look, I could do the same for some of our competitors if you'd like, but it's up to you.
No. I'm not afraid to answer that. Listen,
okay.
Here's the deal. I think I don't spend too much time thinking about what my competitors are doing. I really don't. I have to stay in my own lane and make sure that we're exceptional. At the end of the day, Joe, Ryan, we win because we're better. We can't win because we have a 300-person org or some parent company that helps us. We're like really hard workers. We're really smart. We stay ahead of all of these trends. We employ what's called CANI, which is constant and never-ending improvement, and that's like a culture thing here. So I don't really know what anybody could be deemed as a competitor is doing. I don't really care. What I care about, I have enough energy to worry about the clients who choose us and the team that's in here. And so when we figure out how something is done, how do we do that 5 times better? Next time, 10 times better. So that bottom line, if a client is evaluating our work versus the other, are they getting the digital, right? The results today can be quantified. This is not back in the day where you ran an ad in the New York Times. Maybe it got play. Maybe you got a customer for it. You wouldn't know the difference because maybe you ran a radio ad at the same time, right? This is digital. Everything is results oriented. We have data and analytics for every single thing we do. Are clients getting the results that they deserve? They know that. If their creative is stale and flat, the answer is probably no. So I kind of worry more about like, how are we exceptional? And then I let my clients and even people I meet kind of at these networking events tell us how our offering is, let's say, superior in certain ways to what they had access to before. But we're all friends, and like we partner with agencies in Westchester. So it's not to say we're not competitive, but really I feel like there's enough business in Westchester to go around. I say that all the time. However, we're not turning down clients. So if agencies are not delivering the results that clients deserve and they turn to us to pitch alternatives, we're winning. We're winning, but that's not our fault. It's just we try to be masters at our craft and really client centered. But that starts with the people we hire and the culture, and it's a much bigger thing.
Well, there's a couple of things that I know I just heard, and you kept coming back to culture. We discuss culture a lot here. And, I kind of like some of the things that you've really been highlighting on your website. And you're saying, we're someone different. So, look at us, because we might be able to help you, but also our people are having fun and they enjoy being together. And those are also things that we tend to highlight here as well. And so that it kind of strikes a chord with me. But, I also like the fact that you're focused on being exceptional. And I think that's the driver. You really can't worry about anybody else. So I really applaud what you're doing. It makes a lot of sense to me. And how did you create that culture? Because that's very difficult to do. How did you go about it?
I think it starts from the top. It's what I expect from myself. The bar is being exceptional, and at least 2% better than I was yesterday. Right. And so, when I say exceptional, people are thinking, oh, I need to make this monumental shift in who I am and what I deliver. But I like to tell my team and tell myself and remind myself that, like, there are these two tracks, right? It's the one we're on today, and it's the one we could be on. And let's say you make a 2% shift, another 2% shift, another 2% shift, 2% shift. You bring that out 5 years, you're in a totally different place. So we don't actually need to reinvent every wheel and try to be 58% better than we were yesterday. Like, if we're concentrated and intentional about being just 2% better, which is doable, for the record, for anybody in any situation, where we're going to be a year, 5 years, or in our case, 11 years down the road is where we are today. And my husband put it best. He's like, wow, Elena, it's like it took you 10 years to become an overnight success. And I was like, it's a good point. We were here working, but really, I think that focus on incremental daily improvement starts here, right? Because I can't talk all this, and then my team would just like shout me out when you met them. They'd be like, "She's full of shit." Oh, Ryan, you were supposed to bleep me.
We're waiting for that moment.
I was slow. I'm sorry. There we go. See? We did it. We did it. We
forgot to mention, audience, that this was live and like there would be no post-edit bleeps.
It's okay. It's authentic. It's authentic. It's real.
It is. No, but I mean, that's the goal. And exceptional is a big word, and it is one of the words we use and set ourselves against, but it's really done a day at a time.
That's great. Honestly, again, echoing Joe's point earlier, there are a lot of points that you make that certainly something that we also try to model, but that we also applaud you for, because again, climbing a mountain is a matter of steps. And honestly, we look at it that way as well. So, really, really well made points. Now, Elena, I want to transition really quickly into, I guess, what we most often talk about on this show, and being in the technology space, that tends to be a recurring theme. So, we tend to focus a lot on how technology can play a role in, a professional's day-to-day life, and how that's different across industry. So I guess that question comes twofold. How does copy and art use technology? And, how would you necessarily say it changed over the course of the pandemic, or has it changed over the course of the pandemic?
These are great questions. And I think that, I'm excited to talk about this too, because we talked a lot about future and innovation and next gen. So it figures that this and then video are next, I hope, right? I think, the good news about copy and art was that we had a really kind of set infrastructure for what would be a long time working from home. Since I started from home, the foundation of our technology and how we worked was actually very conducive to working from home, even though we were in office at that point. So I never, it started from home. When we went brick and mortar, I never quite became brick and mortar on the way we work front, which actually we're building out a new office now in this same building, almost 7,000 square feet of beautiful space. And we'll be a little bit more cloud plus brick and mortar, but it allowed us to part in March of 2020 without knowing what was about to happen and work as if nothing had changed. So kudos to like setting up an infrastructure that was started from work from home, because we didn't have a lot of issues. In fact, we had zero issues. how we leverage technology is really important to us from a marketing perspective, because as I mentioned, gone are the days where we're just like placing ads or doing a radio ad. The most sophisticated clients, which happen to be ours, are omni-channel, and a lot of it is digital, where there is some sort of a record of result. And so we really are invested in making sure that our creative lands and is effective, because I can sell you beautiful creative, right? But it has to get results. And so, from a strategic standpoint, we have to know what we're trying to accomplish for your marketing efforts. Then we have to create this amazing creative, which is where we shine. But then we have to actually have the capacity to tell you what the analytics are around the campaigns or whatever efforts we're doing. So I think tech in marketing has certainly helped marketers figure out what's happening there. And then insofar as the future of this is concerned, I think artificial intelligence is going to come in, not so much from the creative dev standpoint, even though like it's already kind of happened. I think Lexus might have been the first brand to allow AI to write an outline of a commercial. That was years ago. But I think AI is actually going to come in to be able to very quickly tell marketers of the 60% of content marketing that might fall flat, like how do we repurpose that quickly? What's working, what isn't, even faster. So I think since that's all data, that's all analytics, AI is going to have an increased role in the future to tell us what's landing and what isn't quicker. Because I think speed is going to be something that continues to be a driver of success for marketers. How quickly can you get it out? How quickly can you correct if you're not hitting the mark? And that's actually a place where we win as well. We win in that agility, right? We had a hospital call us for a commercial. Within 2 weeks, we had a brand new commercial with shot footage, not just B-roll, kind of thrown into their media company. So, I think that's going to work. I have other ideas for like what's going to happen in the future for tech, but I mean, that's one of the ones that I think is interesting.
Wow, I don't know where to start, because AI in particular is, I would say, both exciting and scary. I think in general, to most people, it seems like you're leaning more excited, which I guess is somewhat counterintuitive.
Well, so I try not to be fearful of what's coming or what's already here. Because my job is to embrace it and understand it, not to fight it. I'm not going to win against AI. The only thing that ever made me nervous about AI was AI and creative. So if you tried to get AI to write an ad for you, now that's scary. But could you make an argument that if you ran thousands of ads via AI into a system, could it tell you what creative landed, what colors landed, I think that is helpful. So I think about that. I think about the benefit of being able to run thousands of ads through, if it's created correctly, an unbiased machine that could spit out what people are engaging with. That's much easier than a human sitting down and try to analyze that. And humans are biased. So, I think there's a place for it. I'm excited about everything that's coming. That might just be my personality, though. I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, because it seems like you slant so hard in the strategy, and rightly so. It makes sense, strategy coming first. But, I guess, I don't know. I hadn't looked at it that way. And to be honest, as a fellow, creative person, I do consider myself a somewhat creative person.
I do too.
AI, well, thank you. AI has always scared me. And I had a conversation with Joe about this once before, because I do have an arts background and I have studied the tools of creating, artwork. And then to consider that the time and effort that you've spent doing that could be replicated by a computer, is frightening in a sense. But it doesn't account for the strategy and the implementation behind it, right? So that's still the missing piece of the puzzle. And it still seems like that's the business you're in, right? Like the work could potentially change in some ways. I'm sure it has, but it's the strategy behind it in many ways that they rely on the expertise for to begin with. Is that accurate to say?
I think it's fair. And I think that the position that copy and art takes and the creatives here take is ultimately, listen, you're one of two people in this world. You either want to be served or you want to serve. And we hire people who inherently kind of want to serve. So if you come to your job from a position of wanting to serve your clients, then what you want is all of the data around what you're doing that's working and what you're doing that's not working. And so I take AI, and I actually I did an MIT course on data and where it was going in the future, and a huge focus was on AI. And one of the MIT professors came back to me and said, "I want you to think about AI and copy and art." And so I really actually took the time to think about it, because my first gut reaction was like, oh no, I don't want a computer writing an ad. That's going to be terrible. And then it was just like, hold, that's a gut reaction, which is usually not as logical as it could be. Step back for a second and think about, this is coming and is, quite frankly, already here. How can you use it? And how can it benefit your clients? So take your emotions out of it. Think about it from that perspective. And then I started doing research on how AI could benefit our clients. And, think about AI being able to absorb 1,000, 5,000 ads to be able to spit back a report that goes of all these ads when they included the word innovation. It's not going to be that word, and this color or picture of a sunrise, you got 76% more engagement. I don't know. Is that helpful? In our world, it is. So, or from our position, it is. And I think that's hopefully where AI is going in digital marketing. Not so much to create, but to give us feedback that's going to make us more effective as creatives.
Well, that makes sense. Now, just personally, do you prefer creative or analytics? Which do you prefer?
So we are a creative agency.
But you,
What do I prefer? Oh, I'm
I think
a
just saying,
copywriter
do you like the
by trade.
numbers or the art?
I'm sorry, I should have started with this. So when I was in agency, I was not an account person. I was a copywriter. So I'm actually, which is another kind of interesting differentiation for copy and art, is we're led by creatives, not by account people. Most agencies that are spun off of big agencies are account people first. That's the number one tier. And then the second is account and creative mix. And we're actually creative and creative. So
that's pretty
by
cool.
nature, I am a creative person, but second to that is getting results. More than I love my own ideas, I want to get results for our clients, period. Whether, it's my idea or somebody else's. Like, I just want it to be effective based on what they're paying us to do for them. So I think I have to embrace AI from that perspective.
No, makes sense. Makes sense. And of course, going from AI and going from the creative and analytics, we go right into video. I mean, how important is video in your promotions, and how do you use it with your clients?
Sure. So, internally, at any given day, when you're sitting at copy and art, video might start. B-roll might start taping and rolling. We have camera people here who try to give an authentic picture of like who we are. It's important. Authenticity is really important to us as an agency. And so we try to not use stock. We try to get our real team members doing the real work that we do here every day. So you could get a sense for like who we are. It's really important because this has to work for both sides, right? And video is by far the most effective communication tool to in person. So, right, the most important is me and you right here. But if you can't do me and you press in the flesh, then it should be video. It's the way to really compel audiences. That's our position. So there's a lot of synergy between the love that you have for your company and what we do here. So really kind of video that hits the core of the, let's say, emotional position of however we're trying to persuade our market. That's we think is the most effective. And since one person can't be in more than one place, video really is the most effective tool a marketer has. And these days can be cut into so much that, for
Hmm.
instance, if we go into a photo, not a photo shoot, we'll usually roll a photo shoot in. But let's say we go into a 2-day hospital shoot because the primary objective is a 30-second spot. I mean, these days you're cutting that cutting room floor footage becomes social. It becomes web video. It becomes YouTube. It becomes anything else you want it to be these days.
Hmm.
It can even become a short reel these days. Like there is so much that video can do for clients that um we really missed it during the pandemic when we found, at least in our industry, people were cutting back a little bit on it. Now it's come back, but we
Hmm.
really missed it.
Oh, absolutely. No, and it's kind of interesting because did I catch this right? You have the cameras rolling in your own office. Is that that's a regular thing?
Mm.
Oh,
Yes.
oh, I like that.
I mean, Ryan, look, this is a camera
Oh
rolling
yeah,
right there.
you did show this. I didn't even see it. Wow.
Oh no, and that's like real. And then that's a photographer behind our cameraman who's getting the guy doing the. But this is yes, this is
Wow.
the team had to learn. Anybody who joins us, they're like, so we have to be camera
Camera
ready every
ready.
day, and we're like, yes, or you're gonna be pissed off at how you came off on the post.
Wow. I gotta say, I really do like that. And there was a quote. I don't know who said it, so I can't attribute it well. But they said, there's two types of companies. There are companies who are media companies, and then companies that don't know they are one yet. And I think that kind of speaks to it that it's impossible not to have some sort of digital video footprint at this point. And, from our perspective, we were, very much in the in-person arena. We had certainly been in the virtual space for the last decade or so. And we joked that hybrid events were very different then. We were doing hybrid events before they were hybrid events. And now it's like a buzzword. But in any case,
Right.
video was certainly an important component there. But it seems that our type of organization now has value to different types of or different departments inside these organizations where there's much more of a focus on live video as opposed to, I don't know, 3 years ago.
Sure.
I mean, is that something, and this is probably very on the nose considering we're doing a live video podcast, so I'm not putting words in your mouth, but, does live video have a space in that marketing strategy, in that digital video marketing strategy?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that other than the fact that I was worried about bleeping out a foul word here and there, live is the way to go. Especially if you believe what we believe, which is in authenticity. I think it's that hey, I don't have to be in the room, but I can see what's happening today, right now. And there's a beauty to that. Now, of course, there's beauty to being able to watch it whenever it's convenient to you too. That's why we should have it all. And I think with video, it's important. I think we get a lot, for instance, more engagement on social media here if we go live because people are curious, like, what are you going live for? Um,
Mm.
and so I think that's useful in social. That's useful for awesome podcasts like this one. And I think it's just, marketers, the position that we have is that marketers just have to start really embracing this innovation and difference because it's evolving so quickly. Like if you think about video and then you take that to short, impactful videos on social, you're thinking reels, or it should be. Reels are taking over. Some people go on social now and just look at reels. And you can increase your engagement for a page based on a cool set of reels or some sort of a reels campaign exponentially more than via flat posts. So, I mean, like, it's not just even this type of live, it's the concept of live. And I think it's going to be more and more as this earth becomes more connected via social and other kind of digital platforms, that live is, you know, a real global phenomenon.
Well, Joe, do you need me to explain to you what reels are? Because I'm happy to jump in if you'd like.
So, Elena, this is part of the problem that we have here.
I'm gonna sip my tea, please.
The kids corner, as we like to say. They like to throw these, acronyms, and so there's a lot of running jokes around
Yes,
this.
there are. I know.
Apparently,
you know
I need to be taught a lot.
He's
I
big
guess.
on the snap face and the Insta chat.
Yeah. We're doing pretty good with those,
Joe,
I'm
don't
only
let him
teasing.
do
I'm only
it.
teasing.
I'm more in your camp,
No,
Joe. I'm more like,
I
I
know,
feel
but
like,
listen,
come on, don't let him do it.
I'm trying to build them up a little bit. I mean, I didn't tell him to wear
Oh,
that shirt, Elena. So
I bet Elena likes my shirt.
I mean, I can appreciate your shirt because you have a plain background. So, I mean, you both, you went more plain, but then you have some stuff going on behind you, as do I. So, Joe, you and I are seeing there's
I
a
know,
time and a place for everything. But
time
no,
and a
that's just a
place.
really great example of like video evolving quickly,
Mm.
and the importance and like if you when you research reels, you kind of see the power and the
Oh
impact.
yeah.
I think if anybody would have thought about that before they became a thing, people would be like, no, that doesn't make sense. They're way too short, right? Because when we started, we would do these 2-minute videos, these 10-minute, like, God, it's
Yeah.
like people have no attention span these days, but they're moving the needle for marketing people, so, and brands.
Well, so what do you think the future of digital marketing looks like then? Is it reels, or I mean, what's after reels?
No, I think there's it's multifaceted. I mean, the reality of this is that um, if we all had one person that all they did all day was keep track of innovation in digital, they'd probably still not know it all. So if you're paying no attention, you're going to be lost in a month or two. We make a joke about reels, but like it's really, really, really popular right now. And God knows what's going to replace it in the next 3 months, 6 months. So I think the name of the game is there are a couple of things that I see through my research as kind of popping a little bit more in the future for digital. I think there's a time and a space for kind of voice activated devices too, because there's such an uptick there. And already there's like this targeted Alexa ad capability. I think people are using their voice activated devices for search. And so, insofar as that's concerned, I don't think we've touched where we can go there digitally, leveraging these kind of new technologies. We all know our phones listening to us, but what else? What else could come from these voice activated devices? I think
Right.
what research supports is that content marketing is actually going to kind of make a resurgence for brands, and I think they're just going to be thinking about it from a different perspective. So maybe from, like, let's say there was this trend of influencers, which is still kind of continuing, but really this kind of evolving trend in the future to what are called micro influencers. And so people who have a little bit of a, maybe they're not a celebrity, they have less of a following, but they're more impactful, more authentic. The audience believes they're not bought. So I think that's
Mm.
one of the trade-offs with influencers is that the younger generations might not think about it as much, but some of the middle generations are going, you're being paid to say that. I don't trust you or your message. So micro influencers are going to be kind of really coming in hard because they actually, are truly communicating a message according to their audience. So I think that's one, voice, content. And I think that video is um, just going to be evolving the way we've seen kind of reels come in. It's video, but it's a different way to take it in. And I think social media and other kind of platforms are going to be constantly thinking about how do we get our audience to engage with our videos in a different way. And so we have to just, as our job is to just stay at the forefront of that so that we can make sure that we're serving our clients in a way that keeps them ahead versus
Right.
lagging.
Well, that's pretty hard to do. It evolves literally
It
as
is
we're
so
speaking.
hard.
It's evolving right now.
Yes.
but but I got to tell you, this has been fantastic. I mean, I think we've learned a lot, and I think there's so many different things you guys have going on that are really cool. And I love the authenticity. I think that is a driver to anyone I would want to work with, and that's how
Awesome.
we evaluate a lot of things on our side.
Sure.
Is this real? Kind of
Right.
thing. But listen, I want to thank you for your time today. And I know that everybody has really enjoyed it. And of course, a
Thank
very
you.
big congratulations on, of course, being on the cover of 914 Inc. magazine
Thank you.
and
Thank you.
for the soon to be Hall of Fame award coming up in just another month. You're in good company there too. We're not going to get into that, but you're in good company. So
Yes. Yes.
that's
Yes.
an very exciting. Congratulations to the whole team. Big
Thank
thank
you.
you to Annette. She was very helpful. Another great personality on your team.
Yeah. That's the caliber here. I hope that you would
Good
find that
stuff.
if you met every single person. That's my hope.
I'm
And
sure we
thank you
would.
for the time and the space to chat. You guys are fun. And so it was a real honor to be with you.
Well, this
Absolutely.
is excellent. Really good stuff. We're going to, I don't want to tie you up too much today, but congratulations. I hope we're going
Thanks
to see you
again.
soon. Next event, I have to
Absolutely.
find you this time. There's
Yeah,
there's
that's
a lot of
very
people
weird.
last night.
Yeah, last night was packed. Yes.
There was a
But
lot of people. So. Oh, look at this. There's a request. Apparently, Marissa Madonia needs one of those mugs. I mean, she noticed your product placement.
It
And
is a great
so
mug.
thank you. Yes, would be happy to send it to her.
we're going to put her. I hear that with the new 7,000 square feet being built out, that there might be a bigger bar. I mean, that's what I heard. I'm not sure if it's true.
I mean, so listen, I want to invite you to the ribbon cutting. I hope you will come. It's going to be
Oh
so much
wow,
fun. And,
let's do it.
we're really hoping that it's like the home to ideation and collaboration and the future of digital and video, and we'll have a good time. So hopefully you'll be
Sounds great.
there. And thank you for the support. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again, and
Thank you,
Elena,
Elena.
we're gonna speak to you soon.
You got it. Thanks, guys.
So thank you very much,
Bye now.
Mr. Finch. I think we have learned a lot today.
We certainly have. Oh, you're taking my banners away. Come on.
You were moving too slow. I mean, I'm like,
Well, yeah, like Elena, you got to keep up. You got to keep up with
I'm
the
about
pace here.
results,
Gilderson.
Finch. That you know that. I mean, me and Elena are on the same page. I don't know what you're doing. I mean, I was going to replace you with an Alexa.
Oh, hey, we have one of those.
You see what I did there? You see what I
It
did?
kind of hurt a little bit. It kind
I
of hurt a
know.
little bit, but that's okay.
I know. It was a little dagger, but it's not that bad. Either way, really good stuff. And again,
Yes.
congratulations on all the success. Copy and Art's doing some great things. Really good things. Mr. Finch, it's time for us to wrap up. Can you tell us a story?
Okay. Yes, we can. Please find us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube live. We're going to do that every Wednesday, 1 o'clock. Please come on back. We're going to have some great conversations just like we had with Elena today. And while you're there, if you want to be a part of the show, you can drop a comment on whatever channel that is you are watching on, and we'll bring you into the show and answer some questions, hopefully, and have some fun. So, and of course, while you're there, share, comment, like, subscribe, all the above. Super helpful, helps us keep this going. So please do. Thank you very much. And Joe, what do you say we wrap this thing up for the day, huh?
I think it's time. Let's do it. Everyone,
Okay.
thank you very much. Bye-bye. Ciao, ciao. Finch, let's take us out.